Bruce Yang wasn't a man you looked in the eye. He was the phantom of New York's Korean underworld, the invisible hand that moved billions while wearing the mask of a tech mogul. But his greatest vulnerability wasn't a rival syndicate or federal investigators. It was his 3-year-old daughter, Maya. She had never made a sound. Doctors called it selective mutism caused by early trauma, but Bruce called it his deepest failure. That silence remained unbroken until a frigid November morning in his Manhattan penthouse when the most dangerous man in the city froze in absolute terror, because for the first time in her life, Maya spoke. She didn't call for her father. She pointed a small, trembling finger at the black maid who'd been working in their home for barely 3 weeks, the woman everyone else looked through as if she were invisible, and screamed one word that would threaten to tear apart the entire Yang dynasty, Mama. And that single word is about to ignite a war. A war involving international crime syndicates, stolen babies, and secrets buried across 2 continents. If you think you know where this story is going, trust me, you don't. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because this one takes turns that will leave you breathless. Now, let me take you back to how this moment even happened. The November wind rattled the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Yang penthouse, a glass fortress perched 50 stories above Central Park. This wasn't just a home. It was a statement, sleek minimalist Korean design, white marble floors that reflected everything, sterile perfection that whispered of control and power. Camila Chandler adjusted her maid's uniform in the service corridor, her hands trembling slightly. She was 27 with rich brown skin and dark eyes that carried grief too heavy for someone so young. She'd been working at the Yang penthouse for only 3 weeks, just another cleaning job to pay the bills while she figured out how to restart her nursing degree. The pay was better than her other 2 jobs combined, enough to cover rent on her studio in Washington Heights. That was all that mattered. Camila, eyes forward, hissed Mrs. Han, the head of household, an older Korean woman whose face seemed permanently set in disapproval. She gripped Camila's arm. Mr. Yang is in the living room with the child. Do not speak to him unless spoken to. Do not make direct eye contact. You dust, you leave. He has no patience for people like, for the help. Camila frowned. Is he expecting someone? Mrs. Han's face paled. Every moment with Mr. Yang is important. The kitchen staff nearby went quiet. Everyone who worked in this penthouse knew the truth, even if no one spoke it aloud. Bruce Yang wasn't just a tech CEO. He was the head of the Yang Organization, a Korean crime syndicate that controlled everything from shipping routes to real estate development across 3 states. I'll be careful, Camila whispered, though every instinct screamed to walk out and never come back. But she needed this job. She walked down the corridor. The atmosphere shifted as she approached, the usual quiet efficiency dropping to suffocating silence. In the living room sat a man who looked like he could break the world with a single command. Bruce Yang was 34, dressed in a charcoal suit so perfectly tailored it looked like armor. He had sharp, angular features, dark hair styled with precise intention, and eyes like black ice. A dragon tattoo peeked just above his collar. But it wasn't the man that stopped Camila in the doorway. It was the child. Sitting alone on the pristine white sofa was a little girl, perhaps 3 years old. She had golden brown skin that seemed to glow against the cold room, loose dark curls, and large, solemn brown eyes that looked far too old for her face. She clutched a worn stuffed panda, its black fur faded from years of holding. This was Maya Yang, the silent princess. Whispers among the household staff said she hadn't spoken since birth, a mystery that had baffled specialists at Columbia Presbyterian, Mount Sinai, even a renowned child psychologist from Seoul. Camila approached quietly. Good morning, Mr. Yang. I'll just dust the shelves. I won't disturb you. Bruce didn't look up from his phone. He was typing in Korean, rapid-fire messages suggesting urgent business. Be quick. And stay away from the child. She doesn't like strangers. As Camila moved toward the built-in shelving, she reached up to dust a high shelf. The movement caused her uniform sleeve to shift, and a faint scent drifted through the sterile air, coconut oil and shea butter, the natural hair products she used each morning, mixed with cocoa butter lotion. Bruce stiffened. His fingers stopped mid-text. He looked up slowly, his eyes locking onto Camila with an intensity that made her breath catch. For a split second, she saw something flash across his face of confusion? Recognition, but it vanished, replaced by cold assessment. Maya turned her head toward Camila. The child's solemn eyes widened. The moment stretched impossibly long. Maya's mouth opened, and for a heartbeat, the entire penthouse held its breath. Ma. The sound was rusty, broken, like a door hinge that hadn't moved in years. Bruce's phone clattered to the marble floor, the screen shattering into a spiderweb of cracks. Mama. Maya's scream tore through the silence with primal desperation. The child scrambled off the white sofa, the stuffed panda tumbling forgotten to the floor. Her small legs moved with surprising speed as she ran, not toward her father who stood frozen in shock, but past him, around him, tiny arms outstretched toward the woman in the maid's uniform. Mama. 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 Camila dropped to her knees without thinking, her cleaning supplies scattering across the pristine marble. She caught the child instinctively as Maya launched herself forward, small arms wrapping around her neck with fierce possession. Maya buried her face in the crook of Camila's neck, right where the coconut oil scent was strongest, and sobbed, not sad tears, but sounds of relief, of recognition, of a soul that had finally found what it had been searching for. Mama here. Mama here. Mama, mama, mama. The words tumbled out in a rush, 3 years of silence breaking like a dam. In the hallway, the crash of shattering porcelain signaled Mrs. Han dropping the tea tray. Running feet filled the penthouse as security materialized, men in dark suits appearing in doorways, hands moving toward concealed weapons. But Camila saw none of it. Her world had narrowed to the child in her arms, the small body that shook with sobs and relief, the warm weight that felt impossibly, inexplicably right. Her chest constricted with a phantom pain she'd carried for 14 months, like broken ribs trying to heal wrong, like a heart that had learned to beat with a piece missing. I don't understand, Camila whispered, stroking Maya's curls with trembling fingers. Baby, I don't. Step away from my daughter. Bruce's voice cut through the moment like a blade. Now. Camila's head snapped up. Bruce Yang stood 3 feet away, and the man who had seemed merely cold before now radiated something far more dangerous. His face had gone pale, his jaw clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. His eyes were black and empty, the eyes of a man who had killed before. I didn't tell Camila started, but Maya's grip tightened. No. No, take Mama. Daddy, no. Maya's screams pierced the air, her small hands fisting in Camila's uniform with desperate strength. Bruce's eyes widened at the sound of his daughter speaking in full sentences, something she'd never done. The shock lasted only a moment before his face hardened into granite. Jean. Bruce's voice was deadly quiet as he addressed the large Korean man who'd appeared in the doorway, hand inside his suit jacket. Lock down the building. Nobody leaves, not staff, not deliveries, nobody. Jean spoke rapid Korean into a radio, and Camila heard the distant sound of locks engaging throughout the penthouse. Mr. Yang, please, I don't know what's happening. Camila tried to stand, but Maya clung to her. I've never met your daughter before today. Liar. The word was soft but lethal. Bruce took a step closer. My daughter has been mute since birth. Every specialist from New York to Seoul has failed to make her speak. And you walk into the room and she calls you mother? I don't know. Camila's voice rose. I swear to God, I don't know. Mrs. Han appeared in the doorway, her face drained of color. Mr. Yang, I supervised her hiring myself. Background check was clean. Then explain this. Bruce gestured to his daughter, who had her face buried in Camila's neck, murmuring, Mama safe, Mama soft, Mama here, like a prayer. Mr. Yang. Jin's voice was cautious. Perhaps we should separate them. No. Maya shrieked when Bruce moved forward, her body going rigid with panic. No, take. Daddy, please. Mama, stay. Please, please, please. Bruce froze. His daughter had never said please. She'd never said anything. Who sent you? Bruce's voice dropped to a whisper. He stepped close enough that Camila could smell his expensive cologne. Chairman Park? The Chong family? Nobody sent me. Camila met his eyes despite the danger. I needed a job. My mother died last year. I have student loans. I work 3 jobs just to make rent. I clean houses. That's all I do. Something flickered in Bruce's expression, doubt, maybe, or recognition of truth. But it vanished beneath iron control. Jean, take them both to guest suite 3. Post guards. Bruce turned away, already pulling out a second phone. I want full background, financial records, social media, every place she's worked, everyone she's ever known. And surveillance footage from every camera in this building for the last 3 weeks. Sir, she's just a maid, Jean began. She's something. Bruce's voice was ice. I just need to find out what. 2 more security guards appeared. One moved toward Camila while the other positioned himself at the door. As they guided her toward the hallway, Maya still clinging to her, Bruce called out one more time. I don't know who sent you or what you think you'll gain from this. His voice was deadly quiet, each word precisely cut. But you just made the worst mistake of your life. The guest suite was luxury dressed as a cage. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of Central Park 50 stories below. The bed was larger than Camila's entire apartment, covered in white linens. Everything was expensive, beautiful, and utterly impersonal. Jean had deposited them there with mechanical efficiency, 2 guards taking positions outside. Mr. Yang is not a patient man, Jean had said. If you're working for Chairman Park or the Chong family, tell us now. It might save your life. Camila had stared at him, Maya still wrapped around her body. I don't know those names. I clean houses. That's all I do. Jin's expression suggested he didn't believe her. The door had closed with a soft click, followed by the unmistakable sound of an electronic lock engaging. Now, 2 hours later, Camila sat on the edge of the bed, Maya curled in her lap. The child had finally stopped crying but refused to let go, one hand fisted in Camila's uniform, the other clutching the stuffed panda someone had retrieved. Sweet girl, Camila whispered, stroking the loose dark curls. I wish I understood why you think I'm your mama. You are, Maya said simply, her voice small but certain. She looked up with those 2 knowing brown eyes. You smell right. You feel right. I remember you. Ice water flooded Camila's veins. You can't remember me, baby. We've never met. Did. Maya's bottom lip trembled. Before the cold time. Before the quiet time. When I was inside you. Camila's hands stilled. What did you say? But Maya just burrowed closer, her eyes drifting shut with sudden exhaustion. Within minutes, she was asleep. Camila couldn't move. She sat frozen, Maya's weight warm in her arms, staring at nothing while her mind tried to make sense of the impossible. Inside you. September 15th, 14 months ago. The Aydin Fertility Center in Istanbul. The cold room. The beeping monitors. Dr. Aydin's voice, clinical and empty, there are complications. The baby didn't make it. But what if she had? 3 floors below, in a room that didn't officially exist, Bruce Yang stood before a wall of monitors showing every angle of the guest suite. On the largest screen, he watched Camila hold his daughter with a tenderness that made his chest constrict. Preliminary report, Jean said, approaching with a tablet. Camila Chandler, 27, born in Atlanta. Father unknown, mother deceased, cancer, last year. Moved to New York 4 years ago for Columbia Nursing School. Dropped out after 2 semesters when her mother got sick. Works 3 jobs, house cleaning, night shifts at a Brooklyn diner, weekend stock work at Whole Foods. Total annual income approximately $32,000. No criminal record. No connections to our world. Social media? Barely active. Last post was 8 months ago, picture of her mother in the hospital. She's invisible, sir. The kind of person who's just trying to survive. Bruce studied the background check, scrolling through mundane details. But his eyes kept returning to one entry. This. He tapped the screen. Medical records show a hospital stay in Istanbul, September 12th through 17th, 14 months ago. Jean leaned closer. The dates match when Mrs. Yang was there. Pull everything. I want to know why a nursing student from New York was in Istanbul. Every doctor she saw, every clinic she visited. Already on it. Jean hesitated. Sir, you know this is impossible. Mrs. Yang was pregnant. We saw ultrasounds. Did we? Bruce's voice was sharp. I saw ultrasounds Mincio showed me. I wasn't allowed to attend appointments. And I arrived at the clinic after Maya was born. I never saw Mincio pregnant in person, Jean. She spent those entire 9 months in Europe, avoiding the stress of New York. Jean went very still. You think Mrs. Young lied about being pregnant? I think my wife was desperate. Bruce pulled up another file, Mincio's medical records. 3 failed IVF cycles before she left for Istanbul. The specialists said her eggs weren't viable. That she'd likely never carry a pregnancy. But why fake it? Because the Yang family required an heir. Bruce's hands clenched. My father's will was specific. If I didn't produce a biological child by age 35, control of Yang Corporation goes to the board, to Chairman Park's faction. Mincio knew what that meant. So she hired a surrogate, Jean breathed. Used your sperm and planned to pass the child off as hers. Maybe. Bruce stared at the monitor. Camila had started crying silently while holding Maya. But surrogates don't usually share DNA with the child unless they used her egg too. Jean pulled up Camila's medical file. Blood type AB positive. Mrs. Yang was type A, Maya is AB positive. Bruce felt something cold settle in his gut. Get me a DNA test kit. And find me everything on the Aiden Fertility Center. If they did this, if they stole that woman's child and told her it died. He didn't finish. Jean had worked for the Young family long enough to know what happened to people who crossed them. One more thing, Bruce added quietly. That woman is scared. She's confused. But she's not lying. I can tell when people lie to me. It's how I've stayed alive. Then what is she? Bruce looked at the monitor again. Camila had laid down with Maya clutched against her chest, both curled together like they'd been doing it for years. She's the mother of my child, Bruce said slowly. And she has no idea. The sound of the door unlocking jerked Camila awake. She sat up fast, positioning her body between Maya and whoever was entering. The child stirred but didn't wake. Bruce Yang stepped into the room alone. He'd changed into dark slacks and a button-down shirt, the collar open, sleeves rolled to his elbows revealing the bottom curves of that dragon tattoo. He carried a tablet in one hand and a bottle of soju in the other. We need to talk. His voice was calmer but no less dangerous. Camila stood, carefully extracting herself from Maya and positioning the child on the bed with pillows surrounding her. Am I under arrest? This isn't a police matter. Bruce moved to the window, staring out at the city lights beginning to twinkle. You can't keep me here. This is kidnapping. You entered my home. You did something to my daughter that made her speak for the first time in 3 years. Bruce turned, and something in his expression made Camila step back. Tell me, Miss Chandler, what rights do you think you have that matter more than finding out the truth? The truth about what? Bruce set the tablet on the dresser, opened the soju, and poured 2 glasses. He pushed one toward Camila. Drink. I don't. It's not a request. Camila took the glass with shaking hands but didn't drink. Bruce downed his in one swallow and refilled it. Tell me about Istanbul, he said. The word hit Camila like a physical blow. She nearly dropped the glass. How do you? Your medical records show a hospital stay there. September 12th through 17th, 14 months ago. Bruce's eyes were black holes. What were you doing in Turkey? Camila's legs felt weak. She set down the glass. That's private. Nothing is private anymore. Not after this morning. Bruce gestured toward Maya. I need to know why you were there. The intensity in his voice, the barely contained something beneath his controlled surface, made Camila's defenses crack. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the impossible weight of Maya's recognition and the phantom pain in her chest. I was a surrogate, Camila whispered. The air went out of the room. Bruce's knuckles went white on his glass. Say that again. I was a surrogate. I found an agency online. Elite Futures International. They had wealthy couples who couldn't conceive. They paid $75,000 plus all medical expenses. My mother was dying. The insurance wouldn't cover her treatment. I needed the money. Bruce's face had gone blank, but Camila could see a vein pulsing in his temple. What clinic? Aydin Fertility Center. In Istanbul. It's supposed to be one of the best for discreet procedures. I know it. Bruce's voice had dropped to barely above a whisper. What happened? They flew me there, did the implantation. I never met the parents, closed contract. I carried the baby for 9 months. Everything was fine until her voice broke. Until September 15th. I went into labor. But something went wrong. They sedated me heavily. When I woke up, she couldn't continue. The memory was too raw. When you woke up, Bruce prompted, his voice strangely gentle. The doctor, Dr. Aydin, he told me there were complications. He said the baby was stillborn. A little girl. Tears streamed down Camila's face. He showed me a body. But he wouldn't let me hold her. He said it was better if I didn't attach. They gave me the money and a ticket home the next day. Bruce had gone perfectly still. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. September 15th. Yes. That's the day my daughter was born. Camila's head snapped up. What? Bruce moved to the tablet, pulled up a file, turned the screen toward her. My wife, Mincio, went to Istanbul for fertility treatment. Private, discreet. She came back pregnant but wouldn't let me attend appointments. Said it was bad luck, that I'd curse the pregnancy. She gave birth September 15th, 14 months ago. Maya. And Mincio died 3 days later from complications. The room spun. Camila gripped the dresser to stay upright. That's the day they told me my baby died, she whispered. Bruce crossed to the window again, his shoulders rigid. What if she didn't die? What if that's why Maya knows you? That's impossible. They showed me a body. Bruce's reflection in the glass was ghostly. Did you examine it? Touch it? See its face? Camila tried to remember, but the memories were fractured, clouded by sedation and grief. No. Dr. Aydin said it was too traumatic. That I should just let go. He wrapped the baby in a blanket. I only saw her from across the room. Bruce pulled out his phone. Jean, I need a DNA test kit. Immediately. And find me everything on the Aydin Fertility Center in Istanbul. Every file, every transaction, every patient record. I don't care what it costs. Sir? Jin's voice came through the speaker. Do it. Now. Bruce ended the call and turned to Camila. We're going to find out the truth. Tonight. Camila looked at Maya, sleeping peacefully. The golden brown skin. The loose dark curls. Skin that could be half Korean, half black. The way she'd fit so perfectly in Camila's arms. If she's mine, Camila's voice shook, if they lied to me, if they took my baby and told me she was dead. Then someone is going to pay for it, Bruce finished. His voice was soft but carried absolute certainty. I promise you that. The clock on Bruce's private study wall read 3:30 a.m. when the DNA test kit finally arrived. The room was minimalist Korean furniture in dark wood and clean lines, but every wall was covered in photographs of Maya. Ultrasound images that now felt like lies. Birth photos showing a tiny infant with golden brown skin. Birthdays where the child stared solemnly at cakes she wouldn't touch, her eyes looking through the camera, searching for something she couldn't name. Camila stood frozen in front of one particular photo, Maya as a newborn, wrapped in a hospital blanket, her face scrunched and red. The date stamp read September 15th, 14 months ago. The same day Camila had woken to the news that her baby was dead. That's her? Camila's voice was barely audible. That's the day she was born? Yes. Bruce stood beside her, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. Mincio sent that photo from the clinic. I was still en route from New York. By the time I arrived, Mincio was gone and Maya was in the NICU. Camila's finger traced the glass. She's beautiful. She looks like you. The words came out rough. Bruce pulled another frame from his desk drawer. This was Mincio. The woman in the photograph was delicate, porcelain-skinned, with the kind of beauty that graced Korean dramas. She wore a traditional hanbok in pale pink, standing in what looked like a formal family portrait. But her eyes were cold, calculating even in a smile. We married young, Bruce said flatly. Business arrangement between families. The Yangs and the Kims needed to consolidate power. She knew I didn't love her. She was desperate to secure her position by giving me an heir. Without a child, she was just decorative. Replaceable. Camila studied the photo, seeing desperation beneath the perfect makeup. So she went to extraordinary lengths. It appears so. Bruce took the frame back, set it face down. Tell me about the surrogacy. Every detail. Camila sank into one of the leather chairs. The exhaustion was crushing, but adrenaline kept her upright. I found the agency online, Elite Futures International. They specialized in international surrogacy for high-net-worth clients who wanted discretion. The pay was $75,000, all medical expenses covered, plus a bonus if I carried to term. Why Istanbul? They said the legal framework was better there. Fewer regulations. The clients could maintain complete anonymity. Camila's hands twisted in her lap. I filled out medical questionnaires, did genetic testing, psychological evaluations. 3 months later, they flew me to Istanbul first class. Put me up in a luxury apartment near the clinic. Bruce had pulled out a tablet, taking notes. When did you meet Dr. Aydin? First day. He was Turkish, late 50s, expensive suits, spoke perfect English. Very professional. Very cold. Camila closed her eyes, remembering. He explained the procedure. They'd implant embryos created from the intended parent's genetic material. My only role was to carry the pregnancy. I signed contracts stating I had no parental rights, that I'd never contact the family, that I understood the child wasn't mine biologically. But something went wrong. During the implantation. Camila's eyes opened. I was supposed to be sedated, but I came out of it early. I heard Dr. Aydin arguing with a nurse in the next room. He was speaking English. I think he didn't realize I could hear. He said the embryos weren't taking. That Mrs. Yang's genetic material was non-viable. He said they'd have to use alternative genetic material to fulfill the contract. Bruce went very still. What did he mean by alternative? I didn't know. I was groggy, confused. When he came back, he gave me another sedative. When I woke up, he told me the implantation was successful, that I was pregnant. Camila's voice dropped. I assumed he meant they'd used a donor egg. I never thought they'd used mine. The door to the study creaked open. Both of them turned to see Maya standing in the doorway, clutching her stuffed panda. The child wore silk pajamas patterned with small pandas, her curls wild from sleep. Maya, Bruce started in Korean, then switched to English. You should be sleeping. But Maya wasn't looking at her father. Her solemn brown eyes were fixed on Camila. She walked past Bruce as if he were invisible, her small bare feet padding across the hardwood. Without hesitation, she climbed into Camila's lap, fitting herself against Camila's chest. Mama soft, Maya whispered, her small hand touching Camila's face. Mama warm. Mama here. Camila's arms closed around the child instinctively. I'm here, sweet girl. Bruce watched, and something in his expression cracked. She never does this. Maya doesn't initiate physical contact. She barely tolerates being held. The therapists said it was trauma response, that she'd been separated from her mother too early. Maybe she was, Camila whispered. She stroked Maya's curls, and the child melted against her, all tension leaving her small body. Within minutes, Maya's breathing had evened out into the soft rhythm of sleep. Bruce stood frozen, watching his daughter sleep peacefully for the first time since Minseo's death. She never sleeps this easily. Not even with me. I have to hold her until she exhausts herself crying, and even then she wakes every few hours. Children know, Camila said softly. They know things we don't understand. Things that go deeper than memory or logic. A sharp knock on the door interrupted them. Jean entered, followed by a young Korean woman in a white lab coat, her face pale with exhaustion. Mr. Yang, Dr. Yoon is here with the results. Dr. Yoon approached the desk, a manila folder clutched in her trembling hands. Sir, I ran the test 3 times because the results don't make sense. I thought there must be contamination or processing error, but... Just tell me. Bruce's voice was granite. Dr. Yoon opened the folder, spreading papers across the desk. The child shares 50% of her DNA with you, Mr. Yang. Standard father-daughter relationship. But she also shares 50% of her DNA with Ms. Chandler. Standard mother-daughter relationship. She looked up, her eyes wide. They're both biological parents. Mr. Yang's sperm, Ms. Chandler's egg. The child is biologically both of yours. The room spun. Camila felt the floor tilt beneath her. That's impossible. They said they were using the parent's embryo. They lied. Bruce's voice was steel. When Minseo's eggs failed, Dr. Aiden used yours instead. He gave me a child that was mine and yours. He gave Minseo a baby to pass off as hers. And he told you she was dead. Oh my God. Camila buried her face in Maya's curls, her body shaking with silent sobs. Dr. Yoon shifted uncomfortably. Sir, there's one more thing. I ran a mitochondrial DNA analysis. It's passed exclusively through the maternal line. Maya's mitochondrial DNA is a perfect match for Ms. Chandler's. There's no possibility of error. This woman is Maya's biological mother. Bruce dismissed Dr. Yoon and Jean with a sharp gesture. When they were alone, he moved closer to Camila's chair, crouching down so he was at eye level. There's something else, Camila whispered through her tears. When they showed me the baby's body, the one they said was mine, I only saw her for a moment. But I saw something. A birthmark on her left shoulder blade. Shaped like a small star. Bruce went white. Without a word, he gently reached for Maya, carefully lifting the sleeping child's silk pajama top. There, on Maya's left shoulder blade, against her golden brown skin, a small birthmark shaped like a perfect star. Camila's control shattered. She broke, sobbing into Maya's hair, her whole body convulsing. They stole her. They stole my baby and told me she was dead. I mourned her. I named her Grace, after my mother. I said goodbye to a grave that was empty. I've been dying inside for 14 months, and she was here, alive, and I didn't know. Bruce stood abruptly, his face transforming into something terrifying. The careful control evaporated, replaced by pure rage. And my wife knew. Minseo had to have known. She paid for this. She let you believe your child was dead. She took our daughter, he stopped, the word hanging in the air. Our daughter. She took our daughter and built her entire position on a lie. He pulled out his phone, his movements sharp and violent. Jean. Sir? Get me a secure line to Istanbul. I want Dr. Aiden found. I don't care what you have to do. I don't care who you have to pay. I don't care if you have to burn that clinic to the ground. Find him. Bring him to me. Alive. Understood, sir. And Chairman Park? It is a problem for tomorrow. Bruce's eyes were black holes, empty of everything except purpose. Tonight, I want the man who stole my daughter and made that woman mourn a ghost. He ended the call and looked at Camila, still holding Maya, both of them shaking. They took 14 months from us, Bruce said quietly. 14 months you should have had with her. 14 months I was raising her on a lie. Someone is going to pay for that. I promise you. Camila looked down at Maya, sleeping peacefully. What happens now? Now, Bruce said, his voice carrying absolute certainty, we find out exactly how deep this conspiracy goes. And then we make sure no one can ever take her from us again. By 4:45 a.m., Bruce's private study had transformed into an interrogation room. Jean had moved furniture aside, setting up a large monitor that dominated one wall. Additional screens showed security feeds, encrypted chat logs, and a map of Istanbul with several locations marked in red. Camila sat in the adjoining room with the door cracked open just enough to hear but not be seen. Maya slept in her arms, dead weight from exhaustion. Camila couldn't let go. Every time she tried to set the child down, her arms refused to cooperate. This was her daughter. Her baby. The child she'd mourned for 14 months was real, alive, sleeping peacefully against her chest. The main screen flickered to life. The image showed a windowless room with concrete walls, a single metal chair bolted to the floor, and fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows. A man sat in the chair, his expensive suit rumpled, his silver hair disheveled, sweat staining his collar. Dr. Aiden. Camila's breath caught. She tried so hard to forget that face, the cold professionalism, the detached way he delivered the worst news of her life. But seeing him now, terrified and small, she felt something dark and satisfying unfurl in her chest. Mr. Yang, please, Dr. Aiden's voice came through the speakers, Turkish accent thick with fear. There's been a misunderstanding. I don't know why your men brought me here. The DNA test says otherwise. Bruce's voice was ice. He stood before the monitor, perfectly still, hands clasped behind his back. He'd changed into a fresh black suit. He looked like death wearing Armani. Jean stood beside him, tablet in hand. Two other men flanked the door, large, armed, expressions blank. Bruce gestured to Jean, who tapped the tablet. The screen split, showing both Dr. Aiden's terrified face and the DNA test results. Dr. Aiden's face crumbled. I can explain. Then explain. Bruce's voice dropped even quieter, which somehow made it more menacing. You have 60 seconds. You have to understand, Mrs. Yang was desperate. The words tumbled out. Her own eggs were non-viable. She'd already had 3 failed IVF cycles here in New York, 2 more in Seoul. The specialists told her she'd never carry a pregnancy. She begged me to find a solution. So you stole another woman's eggs without consent? Not stole, improvised. Dr. Aiden was sweating heavily. The surrogate was already implanted with Mrs. Yang's embryos. When they didn't take, when it was clear the pregnancy wouldn't happen, I had to make a decision. The surrogate was young, healthy, perfect genetic material. I used her eggs with your sperm sample. Mrs. Yang paid me very well to make this problem disappear. In the adjoining room, Camila felt sick. She pressed her face into Maya's curls, breathing in the child's scent. Her daughter. They'd used her body, her eggs, her child without permission. And when the baby was born? Bruce's voice was steady, but Camila could see his hands had formed fists. The baby was healthy. Beautiful. Perfect. Dr. Aiden's voice took on a pleading quality. I gave her to Mrs. Yang. Told her the surrogate had signed away all rights. Which was true, the contracts were very clear. The contracts for a different arrangement. Bruce took a step closer to the screen. What did you tell Miss Chandler? Dr. Aiden wouldn't meet the camera's eye. I told her there were complications. That the baby was stillborn. I showed her another infant, a Syrian refugee's baby that had died during delivery the same night. The paperwork was easy to falsify. International records, death certificates. I've done it before for clients who needed discretion. You've done this before? Jin's voice was sharp. Not exactly this. But similar situations. Surrogates who changed their minds, parents who wanted different genetic material. Aiden Fertility Center specializes in solving problems for people who can afford our fees. Bruce was quiet for a long moment. My wife couldn't have afforded the level of cover-up this required. International falsified records, silencing clinic staff, paying off Turkish authorities. That takes millions and connections Mincio didn't have. Who else was involved? Dr. Aiden hesitated. His eyes darted to something off camera. Dr. Aiden, Bruce said softly. I'm being generous by letting you speak. My next call is to associates who don't ask questions before they act. I suggest you consider your next words carefully. Chairman Park Sung-jin. The name came out as barely a whisper. The temperature in both rooms dropped. Bruce went absolutely still. Say that again. Chairman Park. He approached me 3 days after Mrs. Yang died. He already knew about the surrogacy, about the genetic deception. He paid me $2 million to keep all records, to keep the proof of the fraud. Park. Bruce's voice was dead. My father's business partner? The man who sat at our dinner table every Sunday. He said it was insurance. Dr. Aiden was talking faster now, desperate. He said one day he could use the proof that your daughter isn't from the woman you married. That she's illegitimate in the eyes of the traditional families. The Yang family requires pure Korean bloodline for inheritance. If it came out that your heir was the product of a black surrogate. Choose your next words very carefully, Bruce interrupted, his voice carrying a lethal edge. Dr. Aiden swallowed hard. He said he could discredit you. Take control of the Yang Corporation. That without a legitimate heir, your father's will would transfer control to the board, to his faction. Bruce turned away from the screen. His shoulders were rigid, hands still clenched into fists. Jean looked between his boss and the monitor, clearly calculating what would happen next. The door to the adjoining room flew open. Camila stood there, Maya clutched against her chest, her face streaked with tears and twisted with rage. You. Her voice shook. You look at me. On screen, Dr. Aiden's eyes went wide. You're alive? You're here. You told me my baby was dead. Camila walked into the room, each step deliberate. You let me mourn her for 14 months. I named her Grace Chandler. I bought a plot in a cemetery in Atlanta because I couldn't afford to bring her body home. I said goodbye to a grave that was empty. Do you understand what you did to me? I'm sorry, but you signed a contract. You were paid. I was used. Camila's scream woke Maya, who started crying, small hands clutching at her mother's shirt. My body, my child, my DNA stolen because you wanted money. I carried her for 9 months. I felt her kick. I talked to her. I loved her before I even met her. And you told me she was dead. Dr. Aiden's face had gone pale. The contract was very clear about relinquishing rights. The contract was for a different baby. A baby made from someone else's eggs. You changed the terms without telling me. You stole my genetic material, created my biological child, and then ripped her away from me. Camila was shaking so hard she could barely stand. What kind of monster does that? Bruce's hand landed on her shoulder, surprisingly gentle. Camila. She realized she was screaming, that Maya was crying in terror, that she was scaring her own daughter. She forced herself to breathe, to rock Maya gently, to whisper soothing sounds until the child's cries subsided. Bruce stepped in front of the screen, blocking Camila from Dr. Aiden's view. Dr. Aiden, your services are no longer required. Mr. Yang, please, I can help you. I have all the records, all the proof of Chairman Park's involvement. I can testify. Bruce nodded to someone off camera. The screen went black. The room was silent except for Maya's hiccuping breaths and Camila's ragged breathing. What happens to him? Camila finally asked. Bruce turned to face her. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes were cold and empty. He won't hurt anyone else. I promise you that. Camila should have felt horror. Should have protested. But all she felt was satisfaction and fierce, primal gratitude. Good, she whispered. Bruce studied her for a long moment. You understand what I am now. What I do. The world I live in. I understand you're going to protect our daughter. The words our daughter felt strange and right simultaneously. That's all that matters. Chairman Park knows you exist. Bruce moved closer. He knows Maya is yours. He's been sitting on this information for 14 months, waiting for the right moment to use it. That makes you a loose end. And the only way to keep you alive is to make you untouchable. What does that mean? Bruce's expression softened slightly. It means your life just got very complicated, Camila Chandler. Because I'm not letting you walk away from our daughter. And I'm not letting Chairman Park or anyone else hurt you. Which means you're about to become the most dangerous thing you could possibly be in my world. What's that? Family. Dawn broke over Manhattan in shades of gold and amber. Camila sat in Maya's nursery, watching her daughter sleep in the pristine white crib. She hadn't slept. Couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Dr. Aiden's face, heard his clinical voice telling her the baby was dead. The nursery was expensive, sterile, cold. Designer Korean furniture in minimalist white and gray. Not a single splash of color. Maya's toys were organized in clear acrylic bins, arranged by type and size. Even the books were sorted by height. This wasn't a child's room. It was a showpiece. You take it black? Camila's head snapped up. Bruce stood in the doorway, still wearing the suit from last night but with his tie removed, collar unbuttoned. He held 2 cups of coffee. How did you know? Camila's voice was hoarse. I pay attention. He crossed the room and held out 1 cup. Their fingers brushed during the exchange, and Camila felt an electric jolt. She took a sip. It was perfect, strong, hot, no sugar. To her shock, Bruce lowered himself to the floor beside her chair, his expensive suit crumpling as he sat cross-legged. It was so unexpected, so human, that Camila stared. You never sit on the floor, she said. How would you know? You've worked here 3 weeks. Mrs. Han talks. Says you're always proper, always controlled. Bruce's lips quirked. Mrs. Han talks too much. They sat in silence, watching Maya sleep. The child was on her back, arms thrown above her head in complete trust. I missed 14 months, Camila whispered. I didn't feel her kick. I didn't hear her first laugh. They took all of that from me. They took it from both of us. Bruce's voice was quiet. I thought I was raising my wife's legacy. Every time I looked at Maya, I saw Mincio's desperation, her sacrifice. But she was carrying a lie the entire time. The child I've been raising as my wife's dying gift is actually ours. The word hung between them. Camila set down her coffee cup. What's Maya's middle name? Min. After her mother. Mincio. Camila's jaw clenched. I want to change it. I want her name to include something of me. Bruce looked at her, really looked at her. What would you choose? Grace. My mother's name. Camila's voice broke. She died believing I'd lost my baby. She never knew her granddaughter was alive. I want Maya to carry her name. Bruce was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Maya Grace Yang Chandler. Both our names. Before Bruce could say more, the door opened. Jean entered, tablet in hand, his face grave. Sir, we have a problem. Bruce stood smoothly. What now? Jean tapped the tablet, then held it out. The screen showed photographs, Camila walking down a street in Washington Heights, carrying grocery bags. Camila at a laundromat. Camila at the corner store. All time-stamped from the past month. Someone's been following her, Jean said. Professional surveillance. At least 3 different operatives, rotating to avoid detection. Camila stood, ice flooding her veins. Since when? Since before you even applied for the position here. Jean swiped through more photos. These came from Chairman Park's private security network. Our contact flagged them this morning. He's known about you since before you started working here. He planted me? Camila's voice rose. The job posting wasn't an accident. Bruce's face had gone cold. He wanted you close. He wanted to create chaos when the time was right. But how did he even know about me? Dr. Aiden told him. Bruce's hands formed fists. Park has been sitting on this information for 14 months, waiting for the perfect moment. To destroy Maya's legitimacy. To take control of everything my father built. So what now? Camila looked between them. He knows I'm here. He knows what Maya is. He's going to expose us. Not if we control the narrative. Bruce moved to the window. But that requires making you untouchable. What does that mean? Bruce turned back to her. Come with me. He led her through the penthouse to his private office. But this time, Bruce went to the wall behind his desk and pressed his palm to what looked like a decorative panel. It clicked, swinging open to reveal a wall safe. Bruce pulled out a small velvet box, black and clearly old. He held it for a moment, then turned to Camila. This was my grandmother's ring. He opened the box. Inside sat a ring, a large diamond surrounded by jade stones, unmistakably Korean in design. She was a woman who built her own power in a world that told her she should be silent. She was a Kizang who became the matriarch of the Yang family. Why are you showing me this? Bruce's eyes met hers. Because you and I are getting married. Camila laughed. The sound was harsh, bitter. You can't be serious. I've been here less than 24 hours as your prisoner. I'm giving you your freedom and your daughter. But there's a price. Of course there is. Camila crossed her arms. What's the catch? In Korean criminal hierarchy and traditional society, a wife is protected by codes that go back generations. Bruce's voice was matter of fact. Attack a boss's wife, you declare war on the entire organization. It's a line even Chairman Park won't cross publicly. And if I'm just the maid? Just the surrogate? You're disposable. A loose end to be cut. You'd be dead within a week. The words hit like a physical blow. Camila sank into the chair. So this is blackmail. Marry you or die. This is reality. Bruce set the ring box on the desk. I'm not pretending this is romance. I'm offering you protection and your daughter in exchange for legitimacy. And what do you get out of this? An heir who can't be challenged. A family that looks legitimate. And... He hesitated, someone who loves my daughter the way she deserves. Camila stood, moving to the window. 50 stories below, the city was waking up, people going to work, living normal lives, unaware that her entire existence had imploded. You're asking me to enter a world that doesn't want me. Her reflection in the glass looked haunted. I've seen the way Mrs. Han looks at me. Like I'm dirt. I've heard what your community says about black people. I won't lie to you. Bruce moved to stand beside her. It will be a war. Against my associates, against tradition, maybe even against the law. The old families will fight this. Chairman Park will use every prejudice, every racist bone in their bodies to turn them against you. Then why do this? Because I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. No. Bruce's voice softened. But she is ours. And that's enough to start with. Camila turned to face him. He was close enough that she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the fine lines around his mouth, the weight of an empire on his shoulders. But she also saw vulnerability he was trying to hide. I have conditions, she said. I expected nothing less. I raise Maya my way. She learns about both her heritages, Korean and black. No more sterile prison nursery. I want color on the walls, toys on the floor, mess and chaos and childhood. Agreed. No weapons around her. No criminal business in front of her. And separate bedrooms. This is a business arrangement until I decide otherwise. Bruce's jaw tightened. Agreed. Except the weapons, I can't promise that. My world doesn't allow it. There will always be guns in this house, always guards, always the potential for violence. Then teach me to use them. Camila's voice was steel. I won't be helpless again. I won't watch someone threaten my daughter without being able to fight back. Bruce's eyes widened with genuine surprise. Then something else, respect. Deal. He picked up the ring box, removed the ring, and held it out. Last chance to run. Camila looked at the ring, then at Maya's nursery down the hall, then back at Bruce. She thought about 14 months of grief, of working 3 jobs, of being invisible, of believing she'd lost everything that mattered. She took the ring and slid it onto her finger. It was slightly too big, the weight unfamiliar, the jade stones catching the morning light. When, she asked. We'll start the paperwork today. But first, we make a public appearance. Bruce's expression hardened. Tomorrow night. There's a Korea Society gala. Chairman Park will be there. It's time he met the future Mrs. Yang. The stylist team descended on the penthouse like a beautiful, judgmental plague. 6 Korean women, all elegant in black, all staring at Camila with expressions ranging from shock to barely concealed disdain. They circled her like sharks, taking measurements, holding fabric swatches against her skin, murmuring to each other in rapid Korean. He's marrying the maid, one woman said in Korean, not bothering to lower her voice. And she's black. His family will disown him, another replied, pinning Camila's natural hair up. The organization will never accept this. I understand more than you think, Camila said in careful Korean. My ex-boyfriend was Korean. I learned for him. The women froze. The room went silent. Camila met their eyes in the mirror. I know you think I don't belong here. You're probably right. But Maya is half mine. And I'll burn your world down before I let anyone take her again. One of the stylists, the oldest, with silver streaks in her hair, smiled slightly. Good. You'll need that fire for what's coming. They dressed her in a modernized hanbok, traditional silhouette updated with contemporary cuts. The fabric was deep emerald green, rich and luxurious, with gold embroidery along the hem and sleeves. It was stunning. It was also a test. Camila looked at herself in the full-length mirror. The dress transformed her. She looked powerful, regal, like she belonged in a palace. You look like a queen, the older stylist said softly in English. That will frighten them more than anything. The door opened. Mrs. Han entered, her face sour, taking in Camila's transformation with obvious displeasure. This is a mistake, Mrs. Han said flatly. You don't belong in our world. Maybe not. Camila turned from the mirror. But Maya is half mine. And I've survived being invisible, being used, being told my baby was dead. You think a few disapproving looks from Korean society matrons are going to break me? Mrs. Han's eyes narrowed. You have no idea what you're walking into. They will eat you alive. Then I'll make sure they choke on me. In his bedroom, Bruce adjusted his tie in the mirror. The suit was custom, black with subtle Korean design elements in the lining. Jean stood behind him, tablet in hand, face grave. Sir, the community is already talking. They know you're bringing someone to the gala. The rumors. Let them talk. Chairman Park will use this. He'll turn the old families against you. They already think you're too Western. Bringing a black woman as your fiancé will force them to show their hands. Bruce turned from the mirror. Park has been playing in the shadows for 14 months. It's time to drag everything into the light. And if the woman can't handle the pressure? Jin's voice was careful. If she runs? Bruce glanced toward the door. She won't run. She's stronger than all of us. The delivery came as Camila was putting on the jade earrings. Jean appeared in the doorway, his face pale, carrying a package wrapped in black paper. This just arrived, he said. Addressed to the future Mrs. Yang. Bruce materialized behind him. Open it. Carefully. Jean set the package on the bed and used a knife to slice through the tape. Inside was a traditional Korean wedding photo, Bruce and Minseo in ceremonial hanbok, smiling. Except Minseo's face had been burned out, leaving a black hole. Underneath was a children's book in Korean, its pages torn and stained. And beneath that, a note in English. Some stains don't wash out. Some mistakes can't be bleached away. She looks just like the help. Let's hope her mother's bloodline doesn't ruin the dynasty. The racist message was explicit, terrifying. Bruce tried to hide the package, but Camila had already seen it. She crossed the room and took the note, reading it again, her hands trembling. "I'm used to this," she said quietly. "You think this is the first time someone's tried to make me feel like I'm not good enough? This isn't just racism." Bruce's voice was tight. "This is a threat. Park is telling us he knows everything. Then he should know." Camila crumpled the note in her fist. "I've survived worse than entitled old men who think they own the world. I've survived being told I wasn't worth keeping. I've survived losing my mother, losing my baby, losing everything. And I'm still standing." She turned to the mirror, picked up the jade earrings, and fastened them with steady hands. "I'm not going anywhere." Bruce studied her reflection. "You don't have to do this. I can find another way." "No." Camila met his eyes in the mirror. "He wants to see if I'll fold? He wants to use my race, my class, my pain against me? Let's show him exactly who he's dealing with." As they moved toward the elevator, a small voice called out, "Mama Pretty." They turned. Maya stood in the hallway in her pajamas, having escaped her nanny. Her face lit up as she saw them together. "Daddy Pretty too." Maya ran forward, and Bruce caught her, lifting her into his arms. Camila and Bruce exchanged a glance. Maya had called him Daddy for the first time. "We're going to a party, treasure," Bruce said softly in Korean, then English. "We'll be back soon." "Mama come back?" Maya's eyes were suddenly anxious. "I'll always come back," Camila promised, kissing Maya's forehead. "Always." As they handed Maya back to the nanny and stepped into the elevator, Camila felt the weight of the ring on her finger, the silk against her skin, and the terrifying certainty that her life would never be simple again. The elevator doors closed. Bruce stood beside her, close enough that their arms almost touched. "Last chance," he said quietly. "I stopped running the moment Maya called me Mama," Camila replied. "I'm done being invisible. I'm done being afraid. And I'm definitely done letting men like Chairman Park decide who I get to be." She just agreed to marry one of the most dangerous men in New York. But Chairman Park has been watching this entire time, and he's already made his move. The threat coming next is going to test everything Camila has left. If you're still with me, drop a like right now so I know you're riding this story to the end. Because what happens next? Nobody sees it coming. The Korea Society building rose like a monument to tradition in the heart of Manhattan. Red carpet stretched from the curb to the entrance, lined with photographers and members of New York's Korean elite. The moment Bruce's black Mercedes pulled to the curb, the whispers started. Camila felt Bruce's hand find hers. "Remember," he murmured, "you belong here as much as anyone." "I don't believe that." "Then fake it. You're good at that." They stepped out together, and the whispers exploded. Camila kept her head high, the emerald green hanbok catching the lights, the jade jewelry glinting. She was acutely aware of every eye on her, every camera turning, every face registering shock. "Mr. Young." A reporter pushed forward. "Who is your guest?" Bruce's hand tightened on Camila's. "My fiancé." The cameras exploded. Flashes strobed the night. Questions erupted from every direction. Bruce guided Camila forward, his hand firm on the small of her back, and they walked through the chaos like they were strolling through a park. Inside, the grand ballroom took Camila's breath away. Traditional Korean decorations mixed seamlessly with modern luxury. Crystal chandeliers. Gold accents. Tables draped in pristine white. Every head turned as they entered. The ballroom went quiet, not silent, but conversation stopped. Camila could hear the collective gasp. She straightened her spine and smiled. An older Korean woman approached, her silver hair styled elegantly, her hanbok a masterpiece of embroidery. Her face was carefully neutral. "Bruce SSI," she said in Korean, then switched to English. "We had heard rumors, but this is unexpected." "Mrs. Choi." Bruce bowed slightly. "May I introduce Camila Chandler? My fiancé." Mrs. Choi's eyes traveled over Camila slowly. "And what family are you from, dear?" This was the test. The Chandler family of Atlanta, Camila said, her voice steady. My grandfather built the first black-owned hospital in Georgia during segregation. My mother was a nurse there for 30 years. How quaint. Mrs. Choi's smile didn't reach her eyes. And you met Bruce how? Before Camila could answer, a booming voice cut through. Bruce. There you are. Chairman Park Sung-jin approached. He was in his late 60s but moved with confidence. Silver hair perfectly styled, expensive suit, and a smile that reminded her of a shark. He looked at Camila and said in Korean, clearly not expecting her to understand, so this is the maid. Bold of her to wear our culture. Camila responded in Korean. Bold of you to assume I don't speak Korean, Chairman Park. My ex-boyfriend was Korean. I learned for him. Stayed for Maya. The smile froze on Park's face. Around them, conversation stopped completely. Park recovered quickly, switching to English. My apologies. Bruce, you didn't mention your guest spoke our language. There's a lot you don't know, Park SSI. Bruce's voice was pleasant, but Camila felt the tension in his body. I'm sure. Park's eyes moved between them. Tell me, how did you two meet? Such an unusual pairing. Camila took a breath. We met at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. I was finishing my nursing degree, working night shifts. Bruce was there visiting Maya, she'd had a fever. It was 3 a.m, and we both ended up in the chapel. We started talking about loss, about grief, about being alone even when surrounded by people. She looked at Bruce. He told me about his wife. I told him about my mother. We didn't plan to fall in love. It just happened. It was a beautiful lie. It explained everything while revealing nothing. Park's eyes narrowed. And Maya? She's accepted you? She spoke her first words to me. Camila's voice softened genuinely. She called me Mama. I think children know things we don't understand. She needed someone who could love her without the weight of her mother's ghost. The crowd murmured. Everyone knew Bruce Yang's daughter was mute. How miraculous, Park said, his smile sharp. Children can be so revealing. They often recognize truth that adults miss. Or they recognize love, Bruce interjected. Something I'm sure you remember from your own children, Chairman Park. The tension crackled. The orchestra shifted, beginning a traditional Korean piece modernized for ballroom dancing. Bruce turned to Camila, extending his hand. Will you dance with me? On the dance floor, Bruce pulled her close. His hand was warm on her waist. You were incredible, he murmured. The Korean language, the hospital story. I told you, Camila whispered back. I don't run. He knows. Bruce's jaw was tight. Park knows who you are. He knows everything. Good. Camila lifted her chin. Let him know I'm not afraid. They moved across the floor, and Camila was distantly aware that they looked good together. That they looked like they belonged together. When this is over, Bruce said quietly, when Park is gone, what happens to us? Camila looked up at him. In the chandelier light, his face was softer than she'd ever seen it. I don't know. But I know Maya needs both of us. Just Maya? The question hung between them. Before she could answer, she saw Gene appear at the edge of the dance floor, his face drained of color. Bruce saw him too. They broke apart, moving quickly through the crowd. Sir. Jin's voice was urgent, low. The penthouse security. All cameras just went dark. The nanny isn't answering. And Park. They looked across the ballroom. The table where Chairman Park had been sitting was empty. Maya. Camila's blood turned to ice. Bruce was already moving, pulling out his phone, barking orders in rapid Korean. They ran for the exit, leaving chaos behind them. The Mercedes screamed through Manhattan at 140 miles per hour, Gene driving with one hand while coordinating security with the other. Bruce sat in the passenger seat, gun already drawn, checking the magazine with mechanical precision. Camila was in the back, her hands gripping the seat so hard her knuckles were white. If he touches her, Camila's voice shook, if he hurts my baby. He wants us off balance. Bruce's voice was ice. He wants me to make a mistake. To come in angry and sloppy. That's when people die. Red lights meant nothing. Traffic parted before them like water, or maybe Jean just didn't care about the cars they forced off the road. The city blurred past in streaks of light and shadow. They screeched into the private parking garage, the tires smoking. The elevator was waiting, doors open like a mouth. Bruce moved toward it, but Jean grabbed his arm. Sir, if Park compromised the security system. The elevator lurched upward, then stopped. 48th floor. 2 floors below the penthouse. Stairs, Bruce commanded. They ran. Camila kicked off her heels and ran in bare feet, the silk hanbok hiked up around her thighs. The emergency stairwell was concrete and industrial, every footstep echoing. Bruce took the stairs 3 at a time, Jean right behind him, both men with guns drawn. They reached the penthouse floor and found the door blown open, the lock mechanism shattered. Inside was chaos. Furniture overturned. Glass shattered. The nanny, young Korean woman who'd been watching Maya, was unconscious on the floor but breathing. Blood matted her hair where she'd been struck. Maya. Camila screamed. They ran through the apartment. Living room empty. Kitchen empty. Bruce's office ransacked, files scattered. Maya's nursery. The door hung open. The pristine white crib was empty, sheets torn. The window stood open, November wind howling through, curtains whipping like ghosts. Bruce's face went white. The balcony. They burst through onto the wraparound balcony. 50 stories up, the wind was vicious, tearing at their clothes, their hair. The city sprawled below, beautiful and deadly and so far down. Chairman Park stood at the railing. 2 of his men flanked him, large and armed. Between them, held by her small arms, dangling in the air, was Maya. The child was screaming. Mama. 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 Bruce. Park's voice was calm, conversational, like they were discussing business over dinner. Thank you for joining us. And you brought the maid. Bruce's gun was already aimed at Park's head. Let her go. This is between us. Oh, but she is the issue. Park gestured to Camila with his free hand. This bastard child, this half-breed abomination. You think the families will accept her? You think the organization will follow you when they know your heir is the product of a black surrogate? Don't you dare call her that. Camila's voice was lethal. Park laughed. Such spirit. I can see why Bruce enjoys you. But you're just a complication to be removed. Both of you. You'll never get away with this, Bruce said. The organization. The organization will thank me for removing a leader who was corrupting our traditions. Park's smile was vicious. You really thought you could put a black woman at the head of our empire? You really thought you could make us accept your mongrel child as legitimate? Let Maya go, Bruce said quietly. I'll do whatever you want. I know you will. Park nodded to his men. So here's your choice. Step off this balcony, Bruce. Jump. Die. And I pull the child back, safe and sound. I'll even let the maid and her bastard live quietly somewhere far away. Or refuse, and we see if the child can fly. The wind howled. Maya screamed. Bruce looked at Camila. Their eyes met, and she saw his decision before he made it. He holstered his gun. Stepped toward the railing. Bruce, no. Camila lunged forward, but Jean held her back. Fine. Bruce's voice was hollow. Let her go, and I'll jump. Park smiled. You know I'm a man of my word. He signaled his men, but instead of pulling Maya back to safety, they dangled her further over the edge. Her small body suspended 50 stories above the ground, held only by 2 hands gripping her arms. Park had never intended to keep his word. Camila didn't think. Didn't plan. She simply moved. She tore free from Jin's grip, ran at Park's men with everything she had. The self-defense Bruce had drilled into her over the past 36 hours, a lifetime compressed into a day, took over. She drove her heel into the first man's kneecap with savage precision. He went down screaming. The second man, startled, loosened his grip on Maya. Camila grabbed her daughter, but the momentum was wrong. They were moving toward the railing, toward the edge, toward 50 stories of empty air. Camila twisted her body, throwing herself backward. She jammed her arm through the balcony bars, hooking her elbow. The impact nearly ripped her arm from its socket, her shoulder screaming in agony. But she held on. She held on to Maya with her other arm as they dangled half over the edge. "I've got you, baby." Camila's voice was steady despite the terror. "Mama's got you." Maya buried her face in Camila's neck, sobbing but safe. Park walked over slowly, pulling a small pistol from his jacket. He aimed it at Camila's hand where it gripped the railing bars. "Persistent," he said. "Let's see how long you can hold on." Before he could fire, bang. The gun flew from Park's hand, blood spraying. Bruce had shot with surgical precision. Jean tackled Park, slamming him to the concrete. Bruce rushed to the railing, gripped Camila's arm, and hauled them both back over with strength born of desperation. They collapsed on the balcony floor in a heap. Camila, Bruce, and Maya, all breathing hard, all alive. "You can't kill me." Park struggled against Jin's hold. Blood dripped from his mangled hand. "The families will never accept this. Your daughter is illegitimate. I have proof. Even if you kill me, the truth." "The truth," Bruce said quietly, standing up, gun still in his hand, "is that she's mine. And that's all that matters." A single shot echoed across the Manhattan skyline. Chairman Park slumped, his eyes going vacant, blood pooling on the pristine balcony floor. "Jean," Bruce said calmly, "call the cleaners. Make it look like a heart attack at his home. Heart trouble. He's had it for years. Everyone knows that." "Yes, sir." Bruce holstered his gun and lowered himself back to the floor beside Camila and Maya. The three